We are going to move to a very controversial story that involves belief. And this is where things get very touchy for a lot of people. If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably recognize the faces on your screen. You have Chris Bledsoe and his son, Ryan Bledsoe. These two have been making the interview rounds lately, been saying some things. I can't pretend that I follow either of what they do closely, but I did watch portions of the Jesse Michaels interview with Chris Bledsoe, and I've watched clips of Ryan Bledsoe as well. And a lot's been ramping up about interviews, prophecies, and orbs. I'm going to do a little crash course before we get to this clip. I'm going to show Chris Bledsoe, the gentleman on your left of your screen, the older gentleman. Chris Bledsoe reports that in 2007, after a period of personal crisis, he witnessed a close-range UFO encounter near Cape Fear River in North Carolina that marked the beginning of a repeated sighting of glowing orbs and craft. Following the event, Bledsoe claims ongoing contact experiences involving intelligences he associates with a benevolent feminine presence called the Lady in White, which he believes carries spiritual and prophetic significance. His story has drawn international attention from scientists, intelligence officials, and researchers, making it one of the most debated modern UFO contact cases ever. He was recently interviewed by Jesse Michaels, and Ryan Bledsoe was on with Duncan Trussell. And I'm going to play this clip that I kind of melded together of the two interviews. I promise it's not that long. And I don't want to give any further sort of like prelude to this. I just want you guys to listen to the way that both of these men talk in these interviews. And then I really want to reflect on this with you guys and what you think this means for ufology in general. So let me go ahead and play this clip. Hopefully it works. Here we go.
Kinds of people, probably more, but there are people that can see this. There are people that I can teach to see, and there are people that can never see.
Oh, damn.
They'll never see it because they're skeptical. And when you're skeptical about this, you will never be in the club, ever. It will not let you in because it doesn't want to mess with your free will.
You're being so harsh. Believe the witness. Believe the experiencer. No, I don't give a shit. I just don't find any genuine reason to accept that any of that stuff is real. And we stood out. We were like a voice in the wilderness saying, hey, actually, it's spiritual. Maybe you guys are all wrong. Maybe you guys are the freaking crazy ones. We're not crazy. This is real, NASA's knocking on our freaking door. Whether it's a gray, whether it's a reptilian, whether it's a mantis, whether it's X number of thing that people, say that they experience. This is psychic phenomenon. This is mental phenomenon. These are not physical beings walking around in our world, right? The only beings that have the permission and the capacity to walk around in our world are the beings of light, the ones that the Bledsoes have been shouting at the rooftops about, the ones that we've been dealing with. The lady is the most important part of all of this. The lady is the being that is running the show and that is coming here with fury to wake us up from the ruling control system here, from the dark forces that are binding us to this place, from those negative, sadistic, parasitic, vampiric forces that want to feast on our minds and are suffering and keep us trapped here. The lady is the force that, destroys that and severs that power over us. Now, we are approaching a point where on the collective level, this power will have free reign in our world as long as we all collectively and freely invite it. And I believe they will be able to help get rid of the dark forces that are controlling us. And, their days are numbered. The dark forces are numbered. And that's kind of what the plan is of this UFO phenomenon. It's not just a dog and pony show. It's not a magic trick. It is a very real prophetic force that has been guiding us for thousands of years, helping us barely survive, right? Until we got to this fated moment in our destiny where these two worlds were crossed, where they can just boom, just have free reign to come into our world and do what they want.
And you received a prophecy about 2026 as well, right?
Yeah.
And what was that?
Well, she said, and I had no idea what it meant. Still don't, other than she said that when the star of Regulus, which is a blue star, when it appears red on the horizon at the dawn before the sun comes up, in the gaze of the Sphinx. In other words, I saw it in a vision, the whole thing. You can see the Sphinx facing east, and this thing's just cresting the top. She said, when that happens, that will be a sign that ushers in a new knowledge for humanity.
Mm.
So does that mean the return of Jesus or the return of Christ consciousness? It could. And I think that's possible. But it marks a sign, she said, where the darkness would be exposed and the truth would be revealed.
Mm.
That's pretty much what I'm saying. Okay. A lot to break down here. I'm trying to keep it together. I'm getting very mad. Ooh. I have met Chris Bledsoe. Very nice guy. Very, very nice guy. I've spoken to him briefly in emails. You know, I believe that this man had a genuine UFO experience in his life, as many do. You know, in a time of struggle, these things will often appear to people. We hear that all the time of great emotional times in your life, a UFO will appear. And then it's how you integrate that into your life. I have been for that from the very beginning. How you integrate a profound UFO experience into your life and move forward, how it changes you. This is the prime example of how someone integrates a UFO experience into their life. It is also the example of how it changes them. But it's also an example of how it can consume you, how interpretation can sort of influence the experience, which I'm not against. Interpretation is key here. But the way these two are talking really concerns me. And the way that the son, Ryan Bledsoe, is talking straight up pisses me off. In that limited clip of him saying that no other witnesses or experiencers he gives a shit about, and what they saw is not what they like. No, what the Bledsoes are experiencing is the true UFO phenomenon. Fuck you.
There we have it. Stun gun this.
I'll
I don't
second
know what
that.
else to say.
I'm standing with you on that one, Ryan.
Ryan,
Fuck
let me ask you a
a
question.
million times. Yeah, please.
Let me ask you a
please.
question. So is it making you angry because it is feeling like they are trying to control sort of the one true way, the one true truth? What is it that's triggering that for you?
I'm struggling because I want to have empathy. I'm not against someone interpreting their UFO experiences as a
Right.
spiritual awakening or things like that.
I know
Like,
you're very open about all that.
yeah, I'm a spiritual person. God, like
Right.
I do practice religion. But when I hear these prophecies, and now people are saying in the chat, these prophecies that he talked about in his book are coming to pass, and he's already changing the dates. Him and his daughter are taking photos and videos of UFOs that have numbers in them. I just like it. I don't so much have a problem with Chris Bledsoe. It's the way that his son has almost, and I hate using this word, has almost been groomed by his father to continue this idea of this spiritual messaging that is coming through him. I mean, he said these messages are coming through him. He has healed the sick, but it's not him. It's the lady in white working through him through these UFO experiences. They're taking people out in hordes to try to vector in the UFOs, a la psionics and praying and all this stuff. Again, I'm not against any of these things, but the way they're talking and the way that Ryan Bledsoe so easily dismisses hundreds of thousands of UFO witnesses who experience traumatic events that don't correlate to the lady in white, I have a big, big, big problem with that. And you know what? I already feel bad for saying fuck you. I already feel bad because like this dude is on his own journey. But look, if you're going to put yourself in front of a microphone like the three of us have done today and say these sorts of things, there are going to be consequences. And right now, I do believe the Bledsoes are feeling those consequences in this spiritual journey that they are on. I've talked way too much. What do you guys think of what I just showed you and where this stuff with the Bledsoes are leading? I'm scared. I'm scared. Yeah. Whoever wants to jump in.
To me, it's almost like the dog was wagging its tail, but now the tail's wagging the dog. And this kind of got out of hand, or it got so much attention that now we don't have an alternative except for the tail to wag the dog in order to keep this thing going. And I say that with kindness and respect. I have had my own bizarre experiences with non-human intelligence, with the paranormal, my own near-death experience. It is not like I am the least bit closed-minded or judgmental, but I trust that radar, and radar says something's off.
Dan, how about you?
So, okay, I'm going to say a little thing and then I'm just going to present some things. Because I think this alludes to what was that saying, Susan, you said when we were talking about the mummies? If one thing's bad.
Well, false in one, false in all.
Okay, cool. So I want people to keep that in mind as I show what I'm going to show. I would say when I saw that from Ryan, I was disgusted. I've had a personal experience, and that experience told me that I have no right to tell anyone else what they have or haven't experienced, because it was insane. So what right do I have to say you didn't experience something crazier, right? That for me is part and parcel of being in the UFO community, having compassion for each other, hearing each other, listening to each other, respecting each other. And Ryan has fallen so far away from that. Chris, I've never seen him kind of badmouth, but
Right.
That whole, if it doesn't happen for you, you don't believe hard enough. You're the wrong frequency. You're not in the right density. This is all new age mumbo jumbo that we have heard time and time and time again from different people in different cults. And I'm underlining and bolding that word because that's what this is kind of turning into. I agree. Chris seems to have had an initial real experience. And then after that, things started happening, apparently this guy named Tim Taylor came and started making Chris think that the IC and NASA and everyone like that is interested in him personally, when it could just be that Tim Taylor is interested in him or pulling a doty and just messing with someone. But I would like to let a couple of things do the talking for me. So I'm going to share my screen, Ryan. And first of all, it's a video. And then I'm going to share an excerpt from Chris's book. And then I'll expound upon why I'm showing you that. Okay.
Sounds good.
Let's do this. Okay, so here's the video.
Got it. Let me get that up on screen. I don't know if it automatically plays, but let's give it a try.
You should be able to hear the audio. You'll hear Chris kind of praying.
Explain what I'm looking at right now, but I'm going to show you, Lord willing, this video. Oh, Lord, thank you, my Lord. Wow. Did you see it? Wow. You want to believe what I just filmed? It came straight at me and dipped down in the woods while I'm filming this huge orb.
So he's thanking the Lord for a meteorite, then, that happens to show up as he's looking at this anomalous thing and praying to it. This thing he's praying to is a SpaceX rocket launch.
It's like a Falcon. Yeah.
It's a Falcon. He doesn't know what he's
exactly
looking
what
at.
I thought. Yeah.
When you have very little knowledge of what's in the sky, everything is a UFO.
Right.
And so this is what I think of when he says, if you don't believe hard enough, then you won't see anything. Because if I switch my brain off entirely and I believe that's a UFO, I'm going to have a great UFO experience with a Falcon rocket launch, right? So there is that. So let me just stop sharing here, and I'm going to share something else here. This one I'll explain as I go through. I've never seen anyone else talk about this. Let me know when it's up on screen there.
Okay. I'm putting it up right now.
Cool. So I've highlighted the relevant bits here, but I'll read them out for anyone that's listening. This is from chapter 24 of Chris Bledsoe's book, UFO of God, which does have a fake Leonardo da Vinci painting on the cover, for those who don't know. This chapter
I
says...
didn't know that.
Yeah, so it's a complete fake. It's I'll go into the story in a sec, but there's an amazing documentary on it that basically it's what I thought of when you said about the art world and how they confirm fakes and how fakes sometimes kind of get a lot of traction behind them and become bigger than they actually should be. But the painting sold for like 350 million to the king of Saudi, so that's now what it's worth, even though it's fake. You know, it's crazy.
Wow.
So in this chapter, Chris tells a story about an envelope he was sent. Okay, so it says, the last item I shook out was a small jewelry box. I opened it to find a 24-karat gold pin with a distinct triangle inside of a circle. It was almost exactly the same shape I had seen on the chest of beings at our home in 2007. I picked it up, and it was surprisingly heavy. There was nothing written on it, nor any other distinguishing features. One day, I would learn that this symbol is a closely guarded secret amongst those like Tim who work with the phenomena. It was known as an OP pin, short for off-planet, given to those who had direct experience with the phenomena. A small circle knows about them, and an even smaller circle has them. It's a good Christmas present, though I hardly knew who to thank for it. So I'm just going to go back to this bit here. He says, the mailer came in was unmarked and had no return address. Okay. So then he shares some pictures of these kind of things. You know, this is Ryan and Chris. This is all their posting. That's one of the things from the envelope. This is the pin from the envelope. You know, Ryan says here that, you know, it came from a similar place. This is the Camp David thing with the envelope in the background. You can kind of just see it here, right?
Yep.
So then this is a picture of the envelope that I was given years ago by Ryan himself in DM. And you can see on the top left there, it is from Tim Taylor. There is a return address on it. So already Chris is lying about it in his book. He knows exactly who this came from. Okay. So that story became, no, it's a mysterious thing. So then this badge that was sent to Chris. Okay. So you can see here, there's a triangle on it. And these again are pictures from their social media. So, you know, just emphasizing that they have posted these. You can see the word NASA just here. Yep. So line number 2, Chris said there was no writing on it whatsoever. So I went and did a little searching around because I wanted to know what this pin was. And lo and behold, a secret knowledge of Planet Pin is available on eBay for $12.
For $12, YouTube.
There's one here that's $250.
Okay.
So, you know, these things are prized after, and it's listed on Wikipedia. It is a NASA space flight medal that is given to anyone who participates in any mission involving space flight. So not just people that go off planet, but people that sit in mission control. So with that, what was that saying again, Susan?
False in one, false in all.
False in one, false in all.
Great
Wow.
work. Great work.
Good work, man.
And that, I mean, the book is ghostwritten. No one's ever brought that up. I've posted it in a few places because I've been trying to be courteous to them. I approached them and I said, hey, you know, I know the book was ghostwritten. Chris didn't write it. So it might just be an error. Kind of, you know, game of telephone and everything. And that's when I got blocked.
Yeah.
Oh.
That'll do it.
Well done,
Volumes,
you.
right?
I've been pretty quiet on the Chris Bledsoe front for a while because, again, I want to give an experiencer space to really try to understand their experience. They may never. I don't know what the hell I saw when I was 12. Dan, you don't know what your UFO was. Like, no, all of us,
right.
we're all just trying to find answers. And Chris Bledsoe is doing that as well. But I think we are now at a time where it has become blatantly obvious that if you challenge what they are saying, you will be blocked, or the people who do believe their story will they'll come after you. I might get some hate for doing this. I'm sorry, guys. Like, I'm telling you what I feel. And there are so many red flags with these failed prophecies, with these, you know, NASA came to visit us. Wow. Well, then ignore the hundreds of thousands of other people. I think they're being used. I think they're being played. I think Chris became a very religious person. And look, again, all the power to you. If you can find something to believe in the world today, awesome. But when you start saying that if you don't believe what I believe, your UFO was not real, you misinterpreted it, you're against us, you're the dark forces, you saw a black triangle, you got abducted by aliens, oh, you are part of the bad group. As Ryan Bledsoe would call it, you are living hell on earth or something to that extent, he said. Like, again, fuck you. I'm sorry.
We're gonna get a YouTube
I
strike.
like that you went from like, oh, I feel bad, showing more compassion than Ryan showed, I should point out, even though you said that.
He's been
And
rubbed
now
off
after
all
I've shown
week
you
on
my
that.
thing, you've moved back around to fuck you again. I love it.
We're doing therapy with him today, Dan.
I'm going through a
He's
roller
going through
coaster
it.
here, guys. I'll leave it at this. For me personally, I wish them both luck. I apologize if I was offensive in what I said, but it's what I felt. And it's what I felt when I watched these. It's what I feel when I hear them saying that skeptics don't see UFOs. That's
Right.
bullshit. Skeptics see UFOs all the time.
I was
They
too little
just-
to be a skeptic. I was 6 or
Yeah.
7. I wasn't anything.
Like, that's just
Little
patently
sponge
false.
is what I was.
Yeah. And also that he can teach you to see
Yeah.
these things, but only the things that he believes in. Like all
Well,
the
and
other
that-
stuff.
There's only that one right way. That's always a red flag.
Red
It's one,
flags.
one right way. Pay us
Yeah.
$9.99 a month, and we'll tell you about it.
Right.
You
Right.
know?
Or $12 on eBay. Yeah.
Boom.
But it's frustrating because there seems to be something to summoning these things.
Right.
I've
Agreed.
had strange experiences doing that. I wouldn't dare to go and tell anyone that they're genuine
Well-
aliens or something. I just don't know what it is.
And a
And that's the
different way to say what you're saying, Dan, is you can do harm by doing what they're doing. You can do harm to
Right.
other humans by approaching it this way. And that's not right either. It's going to be a varied experience, just like in near death, just like in paranormal. Everybody's experience is different. Are there patterns? Sure.
Yeah.
But there's not one that's right and one that's wrong.
Yeah. I'll put it this way. You can see this question mark on my arm, right? And my
Yes.
horrible sweat stains. I apologize.
I can smell it from
every-
here, right?
I know, right? Oof. Keep that question mark at the forefront all the time, guys. Never put a period on any of these things. I think most people will live their lives with these UFO experiences with a question mark. The Bledsoes seem to think that there's a period at the
Right.
end of what they're experiencing, and there isn't. There's a million periods because they will never explain what they have experienced fully. Maybe to them, they will have the answers, and that's great. But for the rest of us, don't shame us that we're
Yeah.
still on our own journeys. And yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. Wow. Okay, I
He's
actually
worked
kept
out
it
of his
together.
system, I hope.
I kept it together way more than I thought I was going to. I do wish the Bledsoes luck on their journey. I really, really do, because that's all
Especially
we're.
Ryan.
Yeah, especially Ryan. Nice first name, by the way, man. Yeah.
Yeah.